Like they say 70 or 80% of all English words come from Latin. Latin and English are really very different languages in the important way, which is the way that they work. And summarizing what I tried to show you yesterday, I want to look at two things. I want to look at like two statements. In English, function follows word order. By function, I mean the work that a word is doing in a sentence. So we looked at a sample sentence, and our sample sentence is a dog bites a man. I switched it around a little bit from yesterday, but it doesn't matter. We have a verb. What is a verb? Can somebody tell me what a verb is? I don't want to know what it's like. I want to know what it is. It's an action word. A verb is a word that names an action. So in this sentence, where is our verb? Bites. Now, besides that, we have two noun words. Can anybody tell me what a noun is? All right, although I would like to say the name of a person, place, or thing to remind us that like language is about words. So we have two noun words in this sentence. Which are the noun words in this sentence? Dog and man. Now, by function, what I mean is, applied to this sentence, who's biting who? How is it do we know who's biting who in this English sentence? But how do we know that? How do we know that in this sentence a dog is biting a man and not a man is biting a dog? Because of the word order, right? Because of the word order. English is a word order language, and that's why we say the function follows the word order. So this is a noun word, and this is a noun word. But the way we know that this is the subject, that the dog is doing the biting, and this is the object that the man is doing the biting, is the word order. And we saw yesterday that we could switch this order around, right? And we could say a man bites a dog. And if we did that, we don't change the spelling of the word dog, and we don't change the spelling of the word man. The way we know that it's a dog biting a man or a man biting a dog is solely from the word order, only from the word order. Question. So English sentences have a typical word order. Subject, object, verb. And so we know who's biting who because it's the first word, and then we have the verb, the action word, and then we know who's getting bit from the word order. So that's why I say that in English, function follows word order. Now Latin is completely different. And that's both the strength and the weakness of Latin. In Latin, function follows form. Again, by function, I mean what job is the noun word doing in the sentence. Being a subject is a job. It's something that the noun is doing. Being an object is a job. Now, in Latin, the job that a noun is doing doesn't come from the word order. It comes from the way the noun is spelled. Every noun word in Latin has many different ways of being spelled. And I'll have one particular way of being spelled to be the subject. So in this sentence, this says dog bites man. This word is the noun word, commas, dog. This is the object word, and this is actually the verb. So the Latin sentence actually says dog man bites. Now in English, if we said that, that doesn't make any sense, right? Dog man bites is nonsensical. Has everybody done the signage? Mm-hmm. Now in Latin, you can have that word order because, see, in Latin, function doesn't follow word order, it follows form. So there's one specific way, one particular way, that I spell the word dog in Latin to say that the dog is doing the biting. And then there's one specific way to spell the word man to show that the man is getting bit. If I wanted to say something different, if I wanted to say man bites dog, I had to change the way I spell the word man and change the way I spell the word dog. We didn't do that in English. If I want to change the English sentence around, I just switch the order of man and dog. But I don't have to change the spelling of man and dog. But Latin is different. So in Latin we say function, again by which I mean what job, what work is a noun doing? Is it the subject, is it the object, whatever. Function follows form. So this is just a really basic difference in how Latin works and how English works. But it's a big difference, right? And it's something that is hard to get used to. Unless you're like a scientist or an engineer or a computer programmer and doing something really technical, which, you know, hopefully many of you will be doing. Unless you're doing something like that, language is the most complicated thing that the average person's brain does. So to learn Latin, you have to kind of rethink the way language works, and that's why it's tough. Latin is tough. But that's also why Latin is worth studying, because it will totally change the way you think about language. And language is important because it's one of the most complicated things that the average person's brain does. But Latin is not easy. And to get into it in any depth, it takes a kind of rethinking. You have to rethink the whole way you approach it. All right, does anybody have questions about this before we turn to English? All right, cut. Thank you.